more volatility in the oil markets, and I know the silver markets and metals markets are even more volatile than that. But I just want to point out that the oil markets are actually been under investigation due to volatility that's been occurring all year. And I know about some people's probably put a real lot of faith in Lindsey Williams' predictions, but I played it a little conservative, so I was about even with that. So versus losing versus playing options, and I think a few people did, and I know some people got mad at that. But I'm going to try to give out some good advice. And at least what I'm going to be giving out is what I'm doing. So I mostly got out of oil, and it was a little over $100. And I'm in a fund that eats up oil by percentages because it's double leveraged, and it doesn't eat it up as bad as you might think. But if you leave it in there forever and it doesn't go into a strong bull market, you'll get screwed up on it. It's kind of a dangerous fund. Double leveraged ETFs are dangerous, but I'm going to play them in and out. That's what I'm going to do. And I still have an oil position in Goldman Sachs fund, so I'm not completely out of it. But I sold off because I heard about Iran threatening to close the Straits of Hormuz, and these games, I swear, there's yin and yang. They play in and out, left and right, and it's all psychological. I don't really want to look at it too technically. I want to look at it from a psychological aspect. I remember back in 2008, and I swear these stories, I know they have to be like spike stories or whatever the heck it is. They would talk about the Somali gunboats are threatening a oil tanker, and the oil would go up like well over $5 in a single day over that story, which I thought was total nonsense because it's like an insignificant threat. But I've been reading this for a while, and I could see that it's a game. Every time there's a story that comes out that's bullish, you guarantee there'll be another story that's going to come out that's bearish just maybe a couple days later. So I'm going to try to play the trend a little bit here. So I mostly got out of oil at a little over 100. Despite these stories that the Straits of Hormuz may be closed down, I think the oil is going to pull back. So I'm going to buy it in cheaper. But I found this kind of interesting because it was going exact opposite of what happened, I think, about a week or two ago. About a week or two ago, they had the biggest drawdown in oil supplies, domestic oil supplies, in 11 years in a week, in a weekly drawdown. Now, here they got the American Petroleum Institute said late last Wednesday, today's December 29th, 2011, so this is last Wednesday they're talking, that crude inventories rose 9.6 million barrels last week, while analysts surveyed that by Platts, the energy information arm of McGraw-Hill, had predicted a drop of 2.3 million barrels. So that's what I'm talking about. I swear these numbers are rigged, and I'm playing psychology. I'm not playing even so much technical because I'm kind of reading these devils. On Wednesday, the U.S. Navy also warned that any disruption of traffic in the Straits of Hormuz, through which about a sixth of the global production passes, will not be tolerated. I know the Iranians were talking about closing the Straits of Hormuz because the sanctions are really hurting them right now. And but I think this is a game that the U.S. and NATO, whatever you want to call it, are playing on Iran. They're restricting them so much that they say if they close the Straits of Hormuz and they go ahead and make this move, it's going to mean that all the people in the world that are consuming oil will be in opposition to Iran. So that's the game they're playing, and the devils that are on the New World Order are very smart. You just got to figure that. I mean, that's really how they are. So I mean, if I was Iran, I know they're trying to develop. To talk about the U.S. and its allies believe Iran is trying to develop a nuclear weapon, a charge Tehran denies. I know it's controversial to say this, but they are trying to develop a nuclear weapon. It's quite obvious. They got so much energy that it's a given that they wouldn't be messing around with some nuclear electricity for some, especially in light of all these sanctions. It's quite obvious what they're doing. I know it's controversial to say that, but that's what they're doing. Um, I wouldn't be playing that way. I'd be like trying to get as much money from the West and you know do my own thing on the sly. And that's kind of how the Russians are playing it. They're friendly with the West, but they got their own interests going on, and they're scamming the West too. So the West thinks they got them under control, but they don't. That's how that goes. But Iran's too honest. They're too out there in the open, and it's going to screw them up because they're dealing with devils. Iran warned that it would shut the Strait of Hormuz if the West imposed more sanctions over its nuclear program. And that's where the whole world is going to go against Iran because the West is going to play it the right way. And that's where they're screwing up. But I'm not so much worried about that as like I want to be in oil when the Straits of Hormuz are closed. And I don't think oil is it's going to spike up tremendously. But it's going to go down tremendously too, because they're going to come out with some story, even if it's just a story. They're going to say, "Oh, we got, it's going to take another week, and it's going to be clear," and then the oil is going to go down. Then you want to be the hell out of it. That's what I'm thinking. Um, so Vice President Mohammed Rahmani warned that not a single drop of oil will pass through the Straits of Hormuz if sanctions are widened. And they're talking that closing the straits would be easy. Now the sanctions are working because it's putting a squeeze on them. It is putting a serious squeeze on them, and it's going to force them into making a move, even if it's a little piece at a time. They're screwed. They're screwed, and they're not playing this. I'm on my side. Let me put it this way. But if I was an Iranian, I'd be playing this different. They're not playing it smart, but that's the way they're playing it. Senior Saudi oil officials said that the Gulf Arab nations were ready to offset any loss of Iranian crude. So this is one thing that I think oil is going to go down, probably drop maybe, I don't know, it might drop below 95, even despite all these threats about closing the Straits of Hormuz. That's what I'm playing. And if it gets down around there, it'll probably drop even lower. I'll probably be buying back in at 95 though. So then expect it to go back up again. And just, take whatever gains I want. Then they're talking about roughly 90% of all Persian Gulf oil leaves the region on tankers. Now, that's not 90% of the world's oil, but coming out of Persian Gulf, they must pass through the narrow straits, and the land pipelines do not provide sufficient alternative export routes. Now, there's something else, and it's not in this article or anything, but about half the China oil imports goes through the Straits of Hormuz. Not half the oil China uses, but half the oil China imports. Now, China, and I'm not picking this up off an article here, but China is 110% in a hip pocket and in cahoots with the so-called New World Order, despite whatever they're saying about Iran and what they're going to do. It's a bunch of BS. They're going to stab Iran in the back, but they could go against the United States in the event that they're acting totally in their own self-interest. But don't expect them to back up Iran. I doubt it. It's all a bunch of garbage. They're not. They're playing a game. They're playing a game, and that's where actually Iran is screwing up on this. They're not being shrewd enough, but that's the way it goes. And talking about if the Straits of Hormuz were closed, obviously the oil prices would skyrocket in anticipation of any supply disruption and remain high until people and markets are assured that the flow of commerce in oil has been restored. Now, that's where you're going to see some serious volatility. You think there's volatility in the silver market? Watch what's going to happen in the oil market. It's going to be worst. So I'm going to play it a little like I probably will be selling too low. But if I take gains, I'm taking the gains, and that's what's going on. Now silver down again a lot, 26.65 spot price. Um, I wanted Gainesville coins I was looking at. I'm probably good. I don't know. I'm going to get some more of these Cougars, and I'm going to get some more Eagles, and I'm going to wait till next week to do it because I want to do it in 2012 versus. That's just my personal decision. I don't want to go messing around, moving money around at the end of the year. And I like these coins. They got some other coins on here that, and you can get in this site. You might have to hit refresh about 10 times and wait a while. And there's a heck of a lot of stuff out of stock, but they're still selling coins and they're dropping in price. The premiums, I mean, if you go on eBay, yeah, I mean, you could probably flip these coins for more money. But, as far as, what's going on with some of the bullion dealers, you could still get them at good prices. So these guys are a good deal, I think, and they're honest and they're fast. And you always get a good shipment that requires a signature and a call for confirmation. So I like dealing with these guys, and no problem with me. I'm not selling for them or anything like that. But I like the Cougars because it's about the only Wildlife Series Canadian coins that are left that are available because everything else is sold out, and also the 4.9s. So I like that. But I'll probably get some more Eagles too because I just like the way those coins look, even though there's like a gazillion of them out there. And the way things are going, I mean, I'm very surprised that silver dropped this low. But I don't think it's all due to the euro being hammered and running to the flight of the safety of the dollar. I have no idea how much the MF Global crooked things that went on. I'll just put it that way, because ripping off all those customers in MF Global and stopping all their trading, because those are a lot of long positions in metals. I know they weren't, majority of them weren't short positions. So that helped somewhat. I don't know how much that helped the global market, as far as hammering down the price of metals, but I think that has an influence on somewhat on actually the price of metals too, because it closed out a lot of long positions. There had to be quite a lot of long positions out there. But the way I look at it, I wasn't even intended on selling any physical silver at $60 an ounce or $50 an ounce or anything like that. I'd be getting more tempted around 100 something. So if it was like $38 an ounce right now, I wouldn't be considered selling it anyways. But at this price, I want to buy more. So thank you, and that's good to go, and I'm fine with that. And as far as oil goes, I could be wrong here. It's going up a little bit, but I expect it to drift down. I think it's going to go all the way down, maybe below 95, but when it gets down to 95 something, I'm probably going to be buying it.